Hello and welcome back. Eddie Rodosovich, George Stoia here from the SoonerScoop.com studios. Thursday, January 30th. Welcome back. I'm sure that you spent your entire day wherever you're the most pleasurable place in the entire world. A 7-hour Board of Regents meeting?
It was ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, I was only there for the last 3 hours of it, the public part, but not fun. Not fun.
How's everybody at Cameron right now?
I have no idea. Was not listening. I'm not even going to pretend that I was listening. I don't even know how OU's doing, to be honest.
Well, that's not well, somewhat. Let's break down everything. A little bit of an instant reaction here. Welcome back to the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. First things first, Ben Arbuckle. His contract has been approved, 3-year, $4.5 million. That comes out to the tune of $1.5 million per year. That would rank him fourth in the SEC, correct? Behind Charlie Weiss Jr. down at Ole Miss, Colin Klein at Texas A&M, as well as Bobby Petrino over in Arkansas. Buy plenty of motorcycles with the $1.6 million that they're getting paid by the Hogs this year, but $1.5 million for Ben Arbuckle. It wasn't much of a surprise. We had talked about it on the Unofficial 40. We had talked about it here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. $90,000 bonus, I believe, if Oklahoma wins the national championship. Just kind of your thoughts. You talked to Joe Castiglione, Oklahoma athletic director, following the Board of Regents meeting.
Yeah, pretty standard, contract for Ben Arbuckle. Nothing surprising there. And I think even going back to when he was hired, we had kind of reported it was going to be around that number, which I think is interesting. Last year, Seth Luttrell was paid $1.1 million. Joe John Finley, $900,000. So it was around $2 million total. I think Jeff Lebby's last year at Oklahoma, he was making around $1.8 million. So a little bit less in terms of what Jeff Lebby was making, more than what Seth Luttrell was making. But in a good spot in the SEC, anytime you have a coordinator in the top 5, it's pretty clear that you pay your assistants well. Now, some of those numbers, and you can see the story on SoonerScoop.com with all of the names and what they're getting paid. I mean, you have somebody like Joey Halsley, who's quote unquote the offensive coordinator. He's last of the group because Josh Heupel calls the plays. You have Kyle Flood at Texas, who doesn't call the plays. Sark does. I think he's making $1.35 million.
1.4 last year.
Yeah, 1.4. So, and that those numbers are actually this year. So I went in and
into 2025.
Yeah, this is for the 2025 season. I went through and read actually almost all of their contracts to see built-in increases, and that's what those guys are expected to make this season.
Was there anything in terms of returning coaches? Sometimes those contracts are on the agenda for these Board of Regents meetings. Oklahoma, by the way, 6th last year in assistant coaching salary pool, right? At $7.8 million.
Yeah, none in this Regents meeting. I bet that comes up either at the next one or the one in the summer. They usually like to get those done either in the spring or the summer, so that's just something to keep an eye on. Certain guys might get raises, like a Todd Bates could get a raise, or Miguel Chavis or something. Offensive side, I don't see a lot of those guys getting raises. Maybe a Bill Beadenbow. Right. Some of them have built-in raises that I have to go through each one to see. But it is interesting on Arbuckle's contract. His is 1.5 each of the 3 years, so it doesn't have an increase, which is odd. Usually, there's a built-in increase to your contract. That gives you an escalator that gives you, maybe $100,000, after one season. Now, I think OU's thought process in that is, well, Ben Arbuckle may only be here 1 year.
Sure. Or he's going to be here more years, and if things go well in 2025, all of a sudden you're going to go back to the Board of Regents meeting, say we need some more money.
Exactly. So, and the other thing that I found odd in it is that typically there's bonuses for, winning a conference championship or winning a certain amount of games, or I think there was even one back in the day for Lincoln Riley that was Heisman Trophy quarterback.
I thought you meant keeping his hands to himself at Belbar.
No, I didn't mean that, Eddie. But certain things like that are in some of these contracts for coordinators, and his only bonus is $90,000 if OU wins the national title,
win the national championship, right?
Yeah.
All right. But very good. I will say, too, he was making $750,000 last year in Pullman at Washington State. Yeah. More than doubled it, I guess. I guess just over double. So very good for Ben Arbuckle. Rich AF, if you will, as he gets his contract approved on Thursday at the Oklahoma Board of Regents meeting. A couple other things to get into. Joe Castiglione did talk about the general manager search, obviously, that's ongoing right now. Where's everything at in that? And an update just in terms of when they want to get a timeline going and getting an announcement.
Yeah, I've reported on this for a while, and I don't think there was anything super new on that front in terms of timeline. It's my understanding they want to get it done before the spring portal window, which is April 16th. I confirmed that with Joe Castiglione today and kind of asked about how that process is going. And I think it's just interesting the way that he spoke about it and what they're looking for in the next GM is more so about NFL experience and understanding, salary caps and value evaluations and, how much is a player worth, right, to your program. And I think that it sounds like they are certainly looking at candidates that have some sort of experience, working in an NFL front office, not just as like a scout. I think that's an important part of it, but also somebody that's dealing with contracts, negotiations, those sorts of things, which we've talked about, a lot here on the YouTube show. But it does sound like Jake Rosenberg's helping him out there.
I was going to say, so Jake Rosenberg, obviously, he joined Oklahoma back in July, came in and really was going to kind of be the forefront or the leader in terms of how this front office was going to look. I don't know if he thought that he was going to have to hire a general manager or Oklahoma was going to be in the business of looking for a general manager, but certainly somebody that worked in Philadelphia, worked for the Eagles for a long time, and certainly knows how a front office operates at the professional level in the National Football League.
Yeah, won a Super Bowl with the Eagles and helped put together, this roster now that's kind of going on this run. But if you follow him on X, which we got the post up here, but talking about Howie Roseman, the GM there for the Eagles,
maybe one of the best front office guys in the National Football League.
Yeah,
Eagles headed back to the Super Bowl second time in a couple years.
Yeah, over the last decade, Howie's been amazing. And
this does give you an idea, though, of the direction that they're trying to go. What you just talked about, you got to kind of be a master of a lot of things.
Yeah, and that's what Jake's referring to in his post there. You can't be a one-trick pony, and I think that's what Oklahoma's looking for is somebody that could turn on the tape and say, oh, this kid's got it, and then also look at a contract and say this is too much money, this is not enough money. Put certain things into the contract to maybe keep him at Oklahoma longer. Those sorts of things, I think, is what OU's looking for.
It'll be interesting to see how dug in they are. And not dug in, I guess is probably the wrong way to say it, but it does seem like this general manager hire, I guess more or less, it's going to come from somebody that currently resides or works in the NFL.
I think so. I wouldn't rule out, maybe candidates at other schools right now that maybe previously worked in the NFL. There's got to be some sort of NFL experience, though. And it's my understanding, too, it's going to be somebody external. Like, there's nobody internally that they feel like they could elevate to this role. So I do think that it's somebody, though, that your guess is right, Eddie. Like, I think that the most likely scenario is they find somebody, probably a young up-and-comer, in an NFL front office.
Just start searching every front office in the NFL, and you might find somebody.
I've been scrolling through them, looking at different profiles, and there's certainly some interesting ones out there. I have no idea if they're actual candidates.
When you scroll through the bio, are you looking? All right, he did have some college.
Some college
level experience. It's like, okay, we'll put him to the side.
But it's there's certainly people in there that maybe a scout that fits it, but it's like, well, you don't want just a pro scout. You want somebody that's worked maybe in some different areas, and you're seeing across college football the landscape. Guys are there are teams that are hiring NFL personnel or teams like Notre Dame, who just lost their GM to USC. They're hiring Texas Tech's GM Blanchard, who's very highly regarded. Now, I think he is more of an elite recruiter, evaluator of talent. I don't know if he's as well versed in negotiations and things like that. So I think some schools are looking at it differently, but I do think it's super helpful that OU has somebody like Jake Rosenberg, who is kind of steering them in the direction they think they need to go. And he's not only helping Oklahoma, he's very involved at Florida. I know that his consulting firm works with them, and I think a few other schools, but he is certainly aiding Joe Castiglione. He's certainly aiding Joe Castiglione in this search, as well as Randall Stevenson, who's involved. But and I think in a perfect world, Eddie, OU would love to hire Jake Rosenberg. Yeah. I don't think Jake Rosenberg wants the job. I don't think he wants any college football GM job. I think he's in the consulting business, which is, I'm sure, a very profitable business, especially if he continues to do it at a level that he is right now.
And if things don't work out, you don't get all the blame like maybe the general manager is going to. As Oklahoma makes this transition from Curtis Lofton, obviously, who stepped down out of the general manager position, Jake Rosenberg's going to play a big part in this. Randall Stevenson's going to play a big part in this as well. Another Jake Rosenberg tweet that we dug up, just kind of talking about a little bit more on the insides or his insight into the role of a general manager. Darren Heitner is a NIL law professor, and they're going to have to really kind of marry that thing because the general manager is going to work extremely closely in understanding of what Oklahoma and what everybody's doing in terms of NIL, right?
Yeah, definitely. And Darren's somebody, he's a really good follow if you're just interested in the NIL world. He works at Florida. I've interviewed him actually several times. Good guy and really understands the landscape of things. But and I'm guessing he works with Rosenberg at Florida. But and I think Darren kind of speaks to that here, Eddie, where they're going to have savvy general managers who can promote brands instead of hurting them, and especially when it comes to helping guys get NIL deals or helping the school create those so that they have the money to land the type of players they want to in the portal. So all of these things are, again, very important. A lot of it, I don't really, I would not be fit for a position like this. There's so much that goes into it, more so than just, we got to have enough money to sign, this player or that player at this position, or that guy's a really good player. We want him. Like there's a lot more that goes into this general manager role than that.
What can you tell us about, speaking of NIL, there was some NIL information at the Board of Regents meeting on Thursday. Yep. It goes back to I don't know if it's the right wording, but an order or a declaration that Governor Stitt had passed. Tell me what this is, as well as the viewers.
Well, it's funny because I asked Joe C. about it today, and I just said, just explain this to us like we're in like 6th grade.
Yeah, and maybe even like 3rd grade for me.
Yeah, and so basically what this is the executive order from Governor Stitt. It is one that allows schools to fund their collectives. So basically give money to One Oklahoma. The athletic department can now give money to One Oklahoma.
Now, is that immediate? Like, could they have transferred money over this afternoon?
I believe so.
Interesting.
And so, and allows them to do it without them, breaking any rules, essentially. And this also helps them set up for the revenue share come July 1st. And what the Regents meeting part was, for Oklahoma, for the athletic department to give anything over $1 million or transfer funds over $1 million, they have to have Board of Regents approval. So the agenda item today was basically the Regents approving that the athletic department can do that without having to, converse with the Regents every single time they do that. Like they can just transfer the money over, no problem. So this is just a step that really gets them through the next 6 months until July 1st when their revenue share happens. And then once that happens, if it does, now if it doesn't, OU's set up for a good position moving forward if the revenue share doesn't come to be, because they can still give the funds to One Oklahoma. But once the revenue share does come, I think there'll be some more executive orders, across the country, really, not just in the state of Oklahoma, in terms of how this money is allocated to the players.
Very good. We don't say it often on this program, but I will say it. Good move by Kevin Stitt and getting that pushed through for the state colleges here in the state of Oklahoma. Last but not least, anything else from the Board of Regents meeting today?
I did ask Joe about the defensive coordinator linebacker search.
Obviously, we're day like 7
of
waiting.
I think that they are close. I think part of the holdup has been, coaches out on the recruiting trail, and February 1st is that start of the dead period, so Saturday. I think that there is a chance, probably a good chance, that over the weekend or by Monday morning, we know who's going to be hired as, either, I guess, defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator, primary linebackers coach,
and possibly even inside linebackers.
Yeah, inside linebackers coach. Brent Venables is going to call the defense next year. I think we're going to know who that is. I still think Nate Dreiling is the front runner from Arkansas State. We'll see if that's how it plays out. If somebody else popped up, make sure you're on Soonerscoop.com. We'll have it on there, I'm sure, very soon if there's another name that emerges. But Josie did say today that they're very close to getting that done and that the search has gone well. Didn't really expand much else on that.
Yeah, it seems like Nate Dryling's the name that we continue to go back to. We'll see if, I think we mentioned Zach Spavital as somebody that possibly could have some interest in the job, or maybe some mutual interest. We'll see, obviously, connections back to the state of Oklahoma. And, it really is truly we're just waiting like everybody else right now.
Yeah, I think it's just like I said, I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, it could even go down Friday. It wouldn't shock me if it happened tomorrow.
And can I step out on a limb and say, great hire. We love it.
Yeah.
100%. Already. Don't even know who it is. All right. Very good. Last but not least, did want to hit, we talked about this on the Unofficial 40 this week. I know Josh McQuistion gave his insight into, is there going to be a quarterback situation at Oklahoma with 2026? Bowe Bentley just continues to rack up offers. He was offered by Oklahoma, obviously, last week, picked up an Ohio State offer today, picked up Indiana, Florida State, Oklahoma State, Missouri, Virginia Tech, Central Florida, all in a matter of this past week here since he picked up the Oklahoma offer. I think the Oklahoma and the Oklahoma State, Missouri, Virginia Tech offers came on the same day last Friday, but certainly going to have some other suitors, right? I don't think this is a situation, even though grew up an Oklahoma fan, he was pretty vocal about his admiration for the program after the Oklahoma offer. Oklahoma's going to have to really win a recruiting battle if they want to get Bowe Bentley to campus from Salina.
Yeah, I think when they first sent out this offer, people were just like, oh, well, they'll get this kid.
Sure.
Like, he doesn't have the offers that, other quarterbacks might have, and there's not other big-time players in this recruitment. That changed very quickly with Ohio State, and obviously you look at the success that Ohio State's had with quarterbacks in recent years. It's a no-brainer, right? But I do think the proximity, all of that, growing up an OU fan, you'd still think OU has an edge there.
Sure.
My big question, Eddie, is how does Bowe Bentley and how does Jaden O'Neal feel about taking two quarterbacks?
That's what I was going to say. We talked about it again. We talked about this on the Unofficial 40. We've talked about it on the Recruiting Rewind as well on Monday here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel, just in terms of, how does Jaden O'Neal feel about this? How does Bowe Bentley feel about Jaden O'Neal already committed? I think that's been something that's kind of gotten looked over a little bit. And, obviously the possibility of having to pay two top 20 quarterbacks in that 2026 class, very unusual in high school recruiting.
I know Josh has kind of told us that it would be very rare to land two top 20 guys in the same year at quarterback. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Lots to talk about.
These guys haven't even started the first semester, right? Like, they haven't gone through summer workouts going into their senior year. Got to finish up junior year at their respective high schools. I was about to say colleges. It's high schools for sure. All right, that's going to do it for an instant reaction today, coming from the Board of Regents meeting. Thank you for driving down from Oklahoma City. That was kind of nice, being in your own backyard, right?
Yeah, just right. I mean, it's I live downtown, so it was a 2-minute drive to get over there.
Yeah, and didn't run through Dave's Hot Chicken like somebody did last week.
Yeah, boy, that was bad. I thought that was you.
No, we would not do that, and we probably wouldn't be here because Ed Eskridge would kick my ass. I'm not going to do that. For George Stoia, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you right back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.